Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Looks like my mic's a little bit hot. Sorry about that. Each show will have a talk about Linux projects such as a distribution, desktop environment, or application. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community. I think that's Linux tech and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. And with me today, I got a fine panel of people. We're trying to crush my head there. Is that what you're doing? Like going boop, boop, boop?
Well, you have an almost obsession. So I was
Okay.
just kind of saying how big that obsession is
I
with
get
that.
it. Well, it's not like I would leave like anything, in that professes my like or almost unhealthy obsession for the project or anything like that.
Well, I think the idea of you getting the neck tattoo was a little overboard, and I'm glad we talked you out of it.
Well, yeah, it was so close to that neck tattoo.
Yeah, you were so close,
but I think when you told me that, hey, whatever job you have now will be as good as it gets if you get that neck tattoo, that's what steered me away from that one.
Neck tattoo.
So, all right. Well, be sure to do that straw poll if you haven't done so yet. Wait, did I ask how is everybody today?
excellent.
Fantastic.
Good.
Be sure to do that straw poll. I put a link there in the YouTube stream. So if you'd like to tell us what your preferred or which Linux game launchers you use regularly, so feel free to do that. And on the dock for today, we're going to talk about talk about the straw poll on that. We're going to go into all the different launchers that we have on there and see what people have used. And then if there's a little extra time, do some news, and then a community free pour with Ben, and then our last call. But first, what have you been doing in Linux and tech? Colin, you haven't been on here in a while, and you're talking about some troubles you were having. So I thought I would immediately throw you under the bus and say, hey,
Well, thanks for that.
what troubles are you having, and what kind of tires was that bus sporting?
Yeah, then they're not really troubles. They're just it's probably Cosmic is very new, and I've made a series of ISOs, Cinnamon, Gnome,
An Arch, right?
on Arch. Yeah, so I spin them up using the Easy Archer tools provided, and I create my own ISOs, and Cosmic just won't install with the Calamari's installer, which it doesn't with Budgie. You can get it manually working in Budgie. It'll work from the menu on anything provided from ESNIX. If it's not provided from ESNIX, the desktop, then you're on your own, right? Pretty much. So I did manage to get it installed with the LC build from Eric Dubois, but he's quit his stuff now. So I've gone back to ESNIX's stuff. So I don't know. I think it's just because Calamari's has some global issue with it probably doesn't relate to the desktop because Cosmic's so new. I think that's why. So I manually installed it using ESNIX's scripts last night in a VM, and that worked fine. It's just that it doesn't have all my AURs and everything because he's got a special repo. You can put all your AURs and you can build your AURs and put them in there, and it's part of the ISO, so you don't have to install post-install, right? So I do all that, but unfortunately, using the scripts, you've got to, start from scratch and put all your packages in manually. So I'm just playing around, just playing around. It's an issue that's probably going to be there for a while because I think it's a Wayland issue. That's what it is.
Okay.
Because it's a Wayland because Cosmic only has Wayland. So I think that's what the issue is. Yeah. So I just thought I'd try my luck and see if I can do different things, put different packages in, start it differently. There's suggestions on the internet on how to boot it up and get it working with Wayland, but it doesn't work. So it's just little things I like to play around with.
Well,
yeah,
cool.
so that's what I've been up to.
So I guess
Yeah.
I'm a little bit fuzzy on the what your specific troubles are. Is it specifically with something something with the packages or?
No, the installer goes through, and then right at the end, it just errors out and pretty much doesn't install at all. So
Okay.
that's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a problem with one of the modules. It's something that it's not picking up within the module. So I'm not technical enough to know how that works. I have looked through the modules and everything to see if there's anything that I can put within any of those modules prior to building the ISO, but I wouldn't know. It's over my head. But it's always good to know that you might be able to fluke it one day and get something working. But it's probably a bit too technical for me. But
So
it's just interesting anyway.
So I've never done this, and I feel like maybe I don't deserve my nerd card because I've not done anything like this, like build my own ISO. Excuse me. So the process you go through, this is a process you've done obviously for a long time, and you had no problems, and now you think that the switch to Wayland is what is actually causing the trouble specifically?
Nah, it's the switch to Cosmic. No,
Okay.
Cosmic's too new, so there's something within Cosmic that's just not allowing that to work.
Okay.
Anything that Esnix he provides the template, so he has certain templates for certain desktops. Any of those will install. But if you're using, so what I do is I manipulate the packages file and take out whatever desktop it is and put Cosmic in, and because I wanted to build Cosmic desktop, and
Okay.
I was just doing it out of what can you say? Just out of curiosity to see if I can get it working, but no, it's not working. So that's fine. I accept it's not going to work because it's not part of his template builds. And Cosmic is, I think there is an issue with Cosmic and Wayland at the moment, and also trying to install it with Arch. So if you install the base system and then install Cosmic on top, you got no problems. It's just using Calamares is the issue. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Wayland doesn't it does not like to use what do you call it? Elevated privileges now. Wayland doesn't like doing that. It doesn't like running graphical user interfaces in elevated privileges. I think that's the issue as well. It's one of the other issues.
So is that something that you can script out, or is that something that you're going to have to wait until it's fixed upstream to make that work?
Yeah, it'll probably wait till something. I think you have to wait till the guys who work on Calamares. I think that they're going to have to. You're going to have to wait till that all sorts itself out, I'd say. I'm just doing something that I probably shouldn't be doing, but hey, thought I'd try my luck. Didn't work. But it's always good to mess around, and because when you mess around like this, you just learn a few things, So you get a little bit of knowledge of things. I think also it might be the display manager's the issue because it may not recognize the display manager as well. So that could be another issue as well. So yeah, it's just the Cosmic desktop is just too new. I think that's the reason.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good fun anyway. Enjoy trying to work it all out.
Yeah, that is cool. Has anybody else here
Yeah.
built ISOs specific for themselves besides Ben? Because of course Ben you have, but
Ben does stuff Ben does stuff I wouldn't know what to do. So I use provided templates from Esnix, and he does a fantastic job. Easy Archer.
I know that Adam, he's built like using the silver blue, or what's it called, ultimate blue or bluefin. I don't know. I'm not sure what it's called.
Universal Blue.
Universal blue.
Universal Blue. Haven't
Yeah.
heard of that
Yeah.
one.
They're not ISOs, but they're
Well, it's similar.
custom. They're like bootable OCI containers.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Although now part of their automated thing does include the ability to build an ISO, so I just haven't done that.
Yeah, so I thought it was really neat. Do you still have that laptop that you were building images for?
Yeah, I do. Actually, that's the one Nessa uses.
Oh, okay. Oh, very neat. Super cool.
Still enjoying Linux, by the way.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, Colin, I think it's neat that you do that. How now when you build the ISO itself, is that all happening locally on your machine then, or do you use some sort of a remote resource?
Yeah, I do it. I actually do it in a VM just to keep my machine a bit clean. I was doing all the LC ones on my machine, but I actually do the ESNIX ones in a VM, and just in case you have to install some dependencies for some things, so it's better off in a VM. So and then I've got all the templates and I've made them to suit what I want. So all the different templates. So you got to go through and put what packages you want, what desktop you want, and whatever. So so I keep all the templates separate, and then it's just a matter of just running one script and it builds the ISO for you. You just got to deal with the packages file and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all interesting. It's fairly easy to do. It's not overly complicated, but sometimes you got to understand how his repo works, because he's got a repo within the template, and you can build AURs and then you just chuck in the ZST file or whatever it is, and then it's a zip file, and then rebuild the repo, and then that'll be, and once you call for that package, it'll automatically install it. You don't have to build it again. It's already built and installed as a package. So that's an interesting way of doing things from the AUR, rather than have to do it after you install the system. So, which is what I did with the one I'm running here, which is the Arch Cinnamon, and I've got all the Cinnamon X apps. So you got to build them from the AUR, and I actually did that on the Elsie Eric Dubois one, which is the Arch Linux Calamares installer. And I made my own Arch Cinnamon Linux Mint type thing. So it's got all the Mint stuff in it. So it's like a Arch Mint install, you know what I mean? With the Cinnamon desktop. It's just something I wanted to achieve. Yeah.
So do you also block snaps as well when you do that?
Oh, you don't have to worry about snaps because they're not installed. No. Yeah, I get where you come from. No, I don't have to do that. Flatpaks are automatically installed anyway, and it's got my own YAD system installed on the ISO as well. So that's already in the home folder after build. So it's got all my own little scripts and everything in it as well. So that's the reason why I do that. Yeah, it's interesting. It's good to have your own ISO and be able to keep it up to date if you ever need to install. So
I didn't.
So do you have these like automated builds, or are they something you just have to run manually every so often?
Just if you go into the template, into the main folder, and you just right click and open in terminal and just run the steps.sh script, and then that starts building it. And
okay,
then
so you just have to do that every so often to have an updated ISO? Okay.
Yeah, that's correct, yes. Yeah, it's quite simple to run. It's just a little bit complicated to learn how to set it all up and how the repo works and all that. But once you got your head around that, it's pretty simple. But and then I just decided I do 4 desktops, so just to keep it interesting.
You know, I almost think it'd be kind of a fun challenge, as it were, to learn to build to do something like you're doing, understand the process of building a distribution, and maybe get a little more get a better understanding of everything that goes into it. Also, I think it'd be cool to do something similar, but also with the blue.
Universal Blue.
Man, I said another. I don't know where my head is. Another like with Universal Blue as well, to just understand the process of how it's done. Something I don't know. I always enjoy learning new things. That may not be like a great Linux Saloon topic, but that might be something that could be done, as an aside from something else from the regular. I don't know. What do you think of that, Mike? Is that something you'd be interested in doing? I know you are a programmer.
No, not really.
Okay.
I have enough on my hands right now without having to deal with building ISOs.
Right.
But it sounds interesting.
So it would be
But
kind of
look,
fun. Go ahead.
it's not overly complicated with what I do. I think there's other ways of building ISOs that are hugely technical that I probably wouldn't be able to get my head around. But Esnix provides the templates to be able to do that. So it just simplifies the process. So some other processes can be highly technical, which I think I wouldn't be able to do. So I'm not trying to put myself up on a pedestal here because it's not overly complicated, but there are certain things you got to get your head around. So that's the only thing. But,
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to make like a Cubicle Labs distribution. I don't know. Use my little logo in the corner, and I don't know, something to think about, I guess.
that's what I was doing with Esnix's builds there at one stage, going back a couple of years. I was building and I was putting my own PC TLC logos on the Calamares installer as a slideshow. So I learned how to do that as well, which is it's just satisfying and to be able to achieve things like that. I don't do that anymore. Just can't be bothered. I just keep it simple.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, something to think about. Well, cool. Well, thank you for that, Colin. I'm glad you're here, and it was neat to hear about some of your.
Good to be here.
You're still having fun with all things Linux or some things Linux.
Yep.
So between working the way you're working, I guess. So.
Yeah, it's I'm away a fair bit, so I've only got 6 days to. That's probably why I haven't uploaded any videos yet. Haven't had a chance to sort of get my head around that. So yeah, that's all good.
Well, great. All right. Well, I guess we'll mosey on into the straw poll. So if you haven't done so already,
I don't know what to pick. There's no Tux Penguin.
There's no Tux Penguin. I didn't notice. Did I miss the?
I'll just choose none of the above because I don't use a launcher. I don't play games, so none of the above would be acceptable, wouldn't it?
Oh, Scrub Ghost says, "Morning all." Well, morning to you, Scrub Ghost, or good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's one of my favorite movies from the 90s. All right. So the straw poll was, which Linux game launchers do you regularly use? Select all that apply. And so, let me see what the results. So, not really surprising here, but it looks like at 40% of the total vote. Oh, okay, it's shifting. All right, I'll wait. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and knock that out.
Wow.
I'm just getting mine in. Hold up, folks.
Oh, what were you doing this whole time? I'm just kidding.
We're just kidding. Yeah.
I'm just giving you.
I was
hard
listening to
time.
Colin talk.
No, you weren't.
Uh,
Or maybe you were.
I was. I heard him blabber on about calamaris. Jeez. See?
You had
I'm
me
not
at
ignorant.
Calamaris.
All right. I put my vote in. Now you
Okay.
can talk about it.
All right.
Ah.
All right. Let me check it again. Hit the little refresh button. See if anything
Yeah, go ahead.
changes. Of course, it changed. All right. So, in number one still is Steam with just over 41% of the total votes. And then tied for second is Lutris and RetroArch. And that kind of surprised me a little bit. They each have taking just shy of 15%. And then in fourth place, because you can't have a third if you have two tied for second, right? Is that how it goes? In fourth place with almost 12% is none of the above. And then in 5th place, Heroic Game Launcher at just shy of 9% of the vote. And then itch.io got almost 6% of the votes. And Bottles got just shy of 3. So nothing for GameHub, nothing for Mini Galaxy, nothing for Play on Linux, nothing for PortProton
Well,
or
Play
Retropie.
on Linux isn't really developed anymore. I don't think.
Man, I ain't thought about Play on Linux for a minute.
I used to use
Nor
that quite a
have
bit.
I.
Yeah, it was a good option until like Lutris showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lutris came with a lot more
So
whiz-bangetry.
let me ask a question.
Sure.
I know what Steam is. I've used Steam before. Lutris, I think I've played around with a little bit. RetroArch. So is RetroArch just launches retro games, or it can launch any games, or it works the same as Steam? What's the deal
It's
there?
a front end for retro games, generally for emulators.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I mean
So it's
that's like
it's
the most
specific.
high level I can explain it. Yeah, it's like
Right.
a front end for all of your ROMs and emulators.
So I use that one for like all my Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, those games.
Okay.
When you got an itch for something old, not to be confused with itch.io. All right. So I guess let's go ahead and move on to the application appetizer for tonight, which is Game Launcher applications. And I wanted to I guess we'll start off with we're going to go in that list just as it was. So bottles. So I think how many votes do we get for bottles? 1 vote for bottles. Anybody here? I have not used bottles before. Has anybody here used bottles?
I have used Bottles. I think Bottles is probably one of the best ways to install the EA app for EA-based games. Assuming you didn't buy them on Steam.
And what makes it a great way to go for that?
Well, they have some nice automation in theirs. So Bottles is not originally just for gaming. It's kind of a wine manager front end. So, wine bottles, right? And so you can install applications as well as, games and stuff. And it's mainly a way to manage what's known as wine prefixes. And those think of them as independent Windows installations, but through Wine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can manage dependencies separately from one game or application from another, right? And they do provide some easy installations for things like Blizzard's launcher, for the EA app, and other things within their app. So I think it's personally the easiest way to get EA app installed. Lutris also works for EA app, but I just find Bottles to work better for me.
Okay. What EA games do you play on it?
A good example I don't play them, but like Nessa has The Sims 4.
Okay.
And she has it through the EA app, and so that would be the easiest way to get that working.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just as an example, right? Something you would have bought through their store, not through Steam or Epic or someone else.
Okay. Got it. Okay. I know I've used the concept of bottles with Crossover Linux, if you're familiar with that, from Codeweavers. They had that.
Yeah, it's similar, yeah.
Okay. It's probably just like a re-implementation of that same thing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, just with a nice libid way to interface and everything, yeah.
Okay. Got it. So the next on the list is GameHub. Has anybody used GameHub?
I don't even know what that is.
I haven't even heard of the thing.
Yeah, neither did I. I'm checking it out right now.
It's Boogie Mag backwards.
Ooh, that when you put it like that.
Yeah, it sounds a lot better now.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't go with that.
So it is. It says it supports. Looks like it's just a project. It supports Linux and non-Linux games. It's a GTK based application.
That's neat.
It's a games library manager, supports Steam, GOG, and Humble Bundle. And a smart kettle remote control utility. I have no idea what that is.
Like for a kettle, like for tea.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I mean, why not?
So the features, Boyd allows to control kettles remotely using Bluetooth LE connections. Maybe that's actually really what it's for. I have no idea. Yes, in fact, that's exactly what it does. So Bluetooth-enabled kettles can be managed through GameHub. The more you know.
That's a very good example of an open source developer writing software for themselves.
You know, some people do the Monster or not Red Bull. Red Bull's gross. Something like Monster or, NOS for playing games, an extended run of games. Maybe some people, they got to have their tea. So the question is, do you put your milk in first or after the tea? Is that a Colin question?
I don't know. I think there's like some curdling issues, right? Is that the issue?
I don't know.
I honestly don't know anything about all this. I'm an American. My tea is always cold.
And sweet.
Yeah, me too.
Cold with 2 cups of sugar per glass. That's what I know.
Okay, so Anrita says milk after tea. But I thought you put the milk in the teacup so you don't crack the cup when you pour the hot tea in it. I don't know.
Man, you got some weak sauce cup if it breaks when you put the tea in it.
Well, that's the old tradition, because before we got better with the teaware, I guess.
You bought Timu's Timu cup.
Yeah, that's right. And it broke. Well,
I've
GameHub
had foam airplanes from the dollar store last longer than that.
Yeah, what do you think, buddy? I mean, those foam cups can take some pretty intense heat. I wonder how much leaching the expanded polystyrene gets into your coffee or tea.
I'll let you know in a few years.
So, and also, apparently GameHub is. Let's see. Apparently GameHub is the developer is a 23-year-old. So, that's pretty neat. If he can do it, Adam can do it.
How do you know I haven't?
Well, we're going to get to the Heroic Game Launcher next, so, I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I haven't. I totally haven't.
I like to give you credit for something that you have no business getting credit for, just because. So
I already do that. It's called my job. Yeah. Go ahead.
I do that professionally.
Yeah.
So next on the list is Heroic Games Launcher. Anybody here use this one? This is one I use pretty regularly.
Yep.
So this is my.
I've never used this one.
So this has been my number 2 game launcher ever since I went to Ubuntu Summit in 2023, and it's pretty great because it allows you can use as a front end for Epic, GOG, and Prime Gaming. Although I have connected it to the Epic Store, I only used it, I think I can't remember what I used it for. I think it was just to get some administrative stuff done for Fortnite or something like that, because you can't run Fortnite on Linux because, well, you can't. Unless you do the remote play, then you can do it. And then for Prime Gaming, it's neat because you can, like, every month you get, if you have an Amazon Prime member, they give you free games, which a lot of times they're tokens or something, vouchers that you use at GOG to download it. So that's pretty cool. And then I think the launcher's very slick. It's very polished. I think it's, for me, this is if I'm going to play a DOS era or late 90s, early 2000s game, this is my launcher of choice for that. So Adam, you said you've used this?
I have, yes, for Epic and GOG both.
Okay. Now, I like how you can connect it to your GOG account, and then all your stuff is there. Then you can click to like just download and install it very easily.
Just populates the library.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
It is the method that I played Far Cry 2 not long ago with.
Okay.
Just such a good Far Cry game. So before they ruined it with all like the stupid open world stuff. So Far Cry 2 is solid. Get it on GOG. It's great.
I bought Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness because that was like a game I've enjoyed playing years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably put in probably a good 45 minutes into it. Had lots of fun, and I've been meaning to get back to it, and that was probably 6 months ago. But I'm still glad I bought it because I had some fun. I think the humor put into games and that of that genre, to me is a lot of fun. Just the when you click on the characters, the different things they say, like the
ready to work.
Yeah, all right, job's done.
Work, zog zog.
Or the ship, yes, my lord. If you keep clicking it, see, actually, I think it'd be great if like your cruise control on your car would respond in the same way as the ship captain on Warcraft.
Like when you increase
As
the
you
speed
wish.
or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
As you wish. Sire?
I actually, side note, I preferred the voice lines from StarCraft over Warcraft.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never played.
They were all, many of them were from like various sci-fi movies and stuff, like Starship Troopers and all that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of really fun references in the StarCraft lines.
Yeah, I never played it. I don't know why I just got caught. More of a sci-fi than a whatever genre that is. The Tolkien Harry Potter genre, I guess. No, probably more Tolkien. The Middle Earth type stories, but I just didn't ever play StarCraft. Don't know why. Guess
It's
I'm
hard.
missing out. Is it hard?
It can be, yeah. I think it's harder than Warcraft was.
Would I have the patience? So anybody else here use Heroic Game Launcher? So Colin, I know,
Eric
did
does.
not. Eric does
Mm-hmm.
when he goes on his gaming binges.
Which would be actually, you pick on me, but I actually did just to make sure my computer still, like the Steam install still worked. I did fire up a game like 2 weeks ago
Among Us?
and played for about 10 minutes and was
Yeah.
like, okay, I got that out of my system.
Do you even remember the game?
Fallout 4.
Fallout 4.
And I loaded into my base and like looked at all this stuff. Like I had 20 power suits all stacked up. Like I've got all this stuff and I'm like, I don't remember any of this. It's been so long.
It's a rad game, though.
So, oh, it's such
Pun intended.
so many hours into that game. So it's just an absolute, like, actually want to look now. It's ridiculous how many hours I have in that game.
So the game that I played yesterday, my oldest son, well, actually my two boys and my nephew, they twisted my arm, which wasn't really hard to do. They told me to install Sven Co-op. Has anybody played that?
Oh, what was it called?
Sven Co-op?
SVEN?
Yeah, SVEN. Anyway,
Okay.
when we get to Steam, we'll talk about that. But anyway, but it was pretty neat. I had to bring it up because I couldn't remember what it was. All right. So I'm guessing Jinda, do you ever used Heroic Games Launcher?
No, I never tried that one.
Okay. Pretty good.
So 340 hours.
Yeah, that's solid time.
But it's also, I've been playing it since it came out. I mean, it's one of those games I
Right,
just
right.
kept playing and just kept playing and just kept playing,
This man spent a while in New England.
Indeed.
So last week, thanks to you, Adam, I learned about itch.io, and I installed that and had some thoughts about it. So
Adam taught you how to hit itch.
yes,
Adam taught you how to itch.
He's
Mhm.
got he's got mad skills like that.
All kinds of bending.
It's like really work his shoulder mobility, you know. So it was a new launcher to me. I didn't immediately find a way to launch like a game with like the appropriate emulator. So I have purchased a bunch of games on itch.io, but they're all like Commodore 64 games. So there was no way to have it launch the emulator from there. Maybe there's a way to do it. I don't know. Adam, have you played around with anything like that?
I don't think I've played any Commodore games on there.
There's some actually
Do they
really
not? Do they not bundle in their own emulator?
not for that they didn't know.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not a big deal. I can just, I can just download it and then run it in a Commodore 64 emulator. Frankly, the controls for a Commodore 64, like using it like modern, things with that, are a little bit fickle. I would say, like there's a lot of like
Right.
a lot of things you have to like configure because you're not going to use a joystick. You're just not. So, I mean, maybe you are. I guess you could. So anyway, but I
Use
thought
a thumbstick on a controller.
it's true, but it's not the same as it's not the same.
Well,
But-
the emulator's not the same.
It's true. Actually, I often find it's sometimes easier just to play it on the Commodore 64 itself.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the itch app in like the Flatpak and stuff is probably what you're referring to.
Yep.
That's generally meant for like the Windows, Mac, Linux type games. Usually
Right.
Windows and Linux, right? Like I think that's generally the idea of that Flatpak. Not so much. I feel like if you could just download a ROM of sorts and just load in an emulator, it's outside of the scope of what the app's trying to do.
Oh, for sure. No, I don't blame the app at all. I just,
Yeah.
Lutris provides a way to do that, and RetroArch does as well. Although,
Right. Those are Lutris is just scripts, right? So
yeah, it's a very extensible ecosystem for all your gaming needs. Worst marketing pitch right there. But anyway, so besides Adam and myself, anybody else here use itch before?
I realized I have an account, but there must have been a free game that they were giving away. I know they do that.
they have a ton of free games. Yeah.
Well, I mean, someone was giving away a paid game for free. I
Oh,
guess.
all right, right.
So there, Jumpala is in there. I don't know what it is. It's like a jumping game, 2D. So there you go.
So you got the itch.
Had it at some point.
I definitely got it. And it doesn't require any sort of ointment, so there's that too. All right, so Lutris.
Yep. Definitely use that.
In all honesty, I've not used it as much since Heroic. I would say it's probably my number 4 game launcher at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like Heroic kind of replaced for the Epic and GOG stuff for me. EA app works so well in bottles that I haven't really used Lutris for it. Steam obviously is Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just don't. I find Lutris is useful for like the odd game that I just can't get running, but I'm not gonna point any fingers at anyone. But I do know people who use it quite often because they just pirate games. So,
They don't point
so
fingers.
if you've stolen games, then yeah, that'd be the way. That'd be the best way to run them.
So I've used it to like run games like off of CD that I have, like old games. But
Yeah, right.
that's how I've used it. So if I want to play an older game, but
Let's
honestly,
be honest. There's easier ways to get it than
Right.
doing
What-
that. Yeah.
so what I do instead is I spend $5 at GOG and just download the patched version of
Right.
it and say, "Here's $5. Thank you very much. I still got the CD, So I bought it twice now, and I'm okay with that. But anyway, so yeah, that's I think what I like for, if I want to run something old, that's like actual old, like CD, old media and whatnot. I find that to be the best way to do it, the best platform. So I can't remember his name offhand, but the developer there, he has a passion for games preservation and like preserving the art and whatnot. And so he gave a talk at Linux Summit where he talked about
the
how
Lutris guy?
yeah, where it's easy to play old Windows games, Mac games, like all these different platforms. He says the hardest thing to get working are old Linux games.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because there's no way to, because Linux has moved so far, and just the way it's set up, it's very difficult. So anyway, I thought it was really neat. I guess he's one of the things he's working on, or at least he was working on at one time. I don't know if he still is. Was being able to basically build kind of containers and such to have an old Linux environment in, and then launching them. So
Right. I think the project you're talking about is like Umu Launcher or something like that.
it could be.
Yeah.
But anyway, great application for sure. It's a lot of dials and switches you can turn on that one. All right. Anyone here use Mini Galaxy?
Galaxy.
Don't think so.
So this is it's a launcher for GOG games. I used to use this one all the time until
Oh, okay. I get it now. Yeah.
Heroic Launcher, and it had basically Heroic Launcher has all the same features and functionality as Mini Galaxy does, plus some other whiz-bangetry. So, but that's another way to get your GOG games downloaded locally.
Oh, I totally remember this client. Yeah. I do remember this now. Man, it's kind of a bummer. Like the open source folks are just Sherlocking each other.
Right? What can you do? I mean, coder's got a code, right?
Sure.
Well, anything that's been made once should be remade at least
2 or 3 more times, yeah.
100 more times. Yeah.
How many more?
In various graphical toolkits.
Like, how many media players are there out there?
Only one?
Well, how many, built to a certain point and then, dropped like a hot rock?
Wait, you mean someone made something that's not MPV?
Oh, yes. There's like Dragon Player. Remember Dragon Player? That was a thing for a while. I remember
Yeah, that was a thing. I'm gonna leave it at that. But that was a thing, right alongside how much of a thing Totem is.
that was my first Linux media player that I got to work well. Totem. And then VLC came about, and I pretty much have been on the VLC train since. I've tried others, but So
I love how we all just like kind of attach ourselves to certain things like that. We all have these weird like lines in the sand that we draw where it's like, it has to fit within these bounds, and then I'm like, I'm good with it. And we all have these weird like neural connections for those things.
Anything that requires a significant amount of time to make your own, and I think music apps in particular, because if you're doing things like playlists or it tends to just had so many that you put that effort into, and then they've just like gone by the wayside, and you feel like you lost all that effort. So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've seen some people put in some serious work on their Fubar 2000 stuff, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's a good thing that's still going.
that's a good one actually. Yeah,
It's a very good one.
Yeah.
So
For
Sean
people that
says,
still have
Sorry,
local
go ahead.
connections, or for people who still have collections of music
Right, yeah.
locally.
I do.
As do I.
I have some.
Although I find that about the time that streaming became more common, my collection sort of petered off at that point because I didn't buy as many CDs.
Well, it was hard to, right? I mean, I made a
Mhm.
point of any band that I really liked, my way of supporting them was to just buy their CDs. And so that's how I ended up with probably 2,500 CDs in my living room in a bookcase, you know?
Fun fact: I have a 4K Blu-ray player that largely just plays CDs, but it's the oldest format it supports, so that's the one that gets used the most.
Yeah. Well, I still have huge spindles of CDs that I don't know what to do with at this point. You know, it's like I've got the spindle of CDRs and the CDRWs and the
Just go wreak havoc at a dog
DVD.
park. Just everybody's out there playing with a dog, and you just start chucking them, and everyone's dogs just going nuts.
Yeah, I've
Yep.
got some of those rewritable ones, Eric.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
I know.
remember the
You
rewritable
could make a really
ones?
cool
Yeah.
top hat out of it. Like,
Yeah.
Top hat.
Well, I had that same kind, Nate. I have one that has the big plastic cover. So you mentioned like a top
I
hat.
broke
and
mine.
they
the,
just
the
have a
cup,
big-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I have a few
I've got
spindles.
quite a few of those. Yep.
I
I've got
was-
a few spindles.
When I built my last server, I copied all those. 'Cause I don't know how long these CDs are going to last because I don't know when they start delaminating and whatnot. So I've been backing up my backups to my new backup. So anyway, it was kind of fun.
Back that up.
That's right. So, sounds like a song that I
But
might
Mickey
have in my collection.
Bust out my
It is, but we're
my
missing it
jazz
now.
drives.
Oh yes, that's right. Let's keep missing it. Welcome, Dale. Speaking of noun.
Hello, gentlemen.
I wasn't sure if
G'day, Dale.
you're a big gamer or not, but tonight we're talking gaming. I was just thinking about you too.
Yeah, I game almost every day on my Linux.
I
What
don't.
do you play? I'm curious.
Mostly Path of Exile, a little bit of Path of Exile 2, Last Epoch. Let me look at my shortcuts. Baldur's Gate 3, America's Army, American Truck Simulator. Since I am a truck driver, I had to look at it. Axis and Allies 42 online. Enlisted, Fishing Planet. Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim, Throne and Liberty. That's my main shortcuts. And Magic the Gathering Arena.
This man's got a nice roster. I like that.
Actually, he mentioned Skyrim.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see my hours played on that one because it's embarrassing. I'm sure. Yeah, 920 hours.
Woo!
Yeah.
I think the most hours I have in a game was a little over 10,000.
Wow.
I was
Oh,
in
well, I mean, if
World
we
of
go back to
Warcraft.
Warcraft, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the time I
Was-
spent, years of my life,
It was a lot.
literally.
On Path of Exile on Steam, I have 2,000 hours, but I played it for at least a couple of years pre-Steam. That was just a standalone. So I don't know how many hours I've got, but I've got at least 2,000 hours in it.
Jeez.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I guess move on to Play on Linux. Anybody use this one?
Not in a very long time.
Yeah.
I was gonna
This
say that
is-
used to be a really
Not
popular
in
one.
years.
I used to love it. I haven't used it in a long time.
Yeah, it was one of the major ones for a while.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
It was awesome for its time.
I wonder when the last release was of Play on Linux. The website's still. I mean, the website's like early 2000s, but I mean, it's there. Ooh. So it looks like March 22. So anyway, so this is like the first easy way to get games or things running I found. But I never actually had a lot of great success with it. I know some people did, but it wasn't super easy for me. I just bought crossover Linux and called it good at that point. So but that's not a game launcher though. But anyway, anybody here use it currently at all? No?
No.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it is there. All right. Well, the next on the list is PortProton. This is on FlatHub. I've not heard of this one either.
PortProton. Sounds like a Proton manager more than anything, but
It's a project designed to make it easy to and convenient to run Windows games on Linux for both beginners and advanced users. This project strives to make running isn't something tells me a lot. And provides it's another way, I guess, of managing. Managing your running Windows games in Linux. Much of this is not in English, so it looks like it's a Russian site. So I bet this is very popular on the other side of the world.
So just, I know we already passed the subject, but I do still have Play on Linux on my machine, and it will not load. I don't know how long ago since that happened, but I've tried twice to get it to. I tried twice to get it to pop now, and it's not gonna load.
Yeah, I haven't had it installed in a while. I think my son was using it to try and get some things to work with Proton and something. I don't know what he was doing with it. But anyway, is it on your Tumbleweed machine? Because that's like what you're on, right?
Yeah, and I just tried it on terminal. It said module not found, error, no module named pipes.
The pipes are busted.
Yep. That's gonna be a expensive plumber.
Probably. All right, well, the next one on the list is Retropie. So this is, I guess, RetroArch specifically built for the Raspberry Pi. Jinda, is this something that you run?
I have tried it a couple of times in the past to play games on my Raspberry Pi, yes.
Yeah, I think that's like
I did the other one, Lanka.
Laka or whatever.
Laka, yeah, that Lanka, Laka, I don't know, remember, but that's the other one that I used. They both have pluses and minuses. I can't say which one's better than the other.
I want to say there's a third one called like Batocera or something like that, but
I thought Batocera was for Windows.
oh, is that like an x86 version of that stuff?
Oh wait, no. Batocera, yes, Batocera does work on Linux. You're right. There's another one in there. I can't remember the name of it.
Play Night or something?
Yeah. God, there's so many of them. But Batocera, I think, is got a lot of choices for what you want to run it on.
Yeah.
More so than RetroPie.
Okay, so a little more architecture options.
Yeah, but none of them really work very well for standalone. You have to install it as like a system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Laka and RetroPie are pretty great. You just flash the SD card and roll out kind of thing. Especially if you keep your games on like a NAS or something, and you don't even have to like copy them to it. You could just open the ROMs over the network. So since the games are super tiny, it's easy to do.
Yeah, I remember when I got my first SD card for my Commodore 64. It was like an 8 gigabyte SD card, a bunch of games. Someone said, "How many of the Commodore 64 games can you put on there?" And I said, "Well, all of them."
Hey.
Yeah, all of them.
I always find that I have a hard time emulating computers on things like RetroPie or or whatever. Like they don't. It doesn't work as well for me. I don't know. Maybe it's a me problem. So there's Retropie, Batocera. What's another one you said?
Laka, Lakka.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Laka.tv.
Yeah, Laka. It's real similar to Retropie.
Okay.
I run a bunch of different ones on my handheld system.
Okay. And like, what's your handheld system?
It's an Ambernic RG Plus or something.
Is it like an ARM-based device or something?
Oh, it's Linux.
Okay.
Yeah, it is ARM-based. Yeah, but it runs Linux.
Yeah, so when you look on Get Laka, they have which hardware do you want to install Laka? They have like all
Right.
the Raspberry Pis, the Pi Boy, Retro Dreamer, Capcom Home Arcade, generic PC, Nintendo Switch. Although, would that violate some sort of terms? Odroid, Anbernic. I've never heard of that either. But a lot of these things I've never heard of.
That's
Pretty
the
wild.
Armanic. That's what I got.
Okay. Got Rock Chip, All Winner. Or is it All Winer?
Your winner.
So it seems like Laka and Batocera are very similar. The websites are even built very similarly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's I wonder if there was a split ski somewhere in there that happened.
I think
Not in open
Laka
source.
came out first, I think.
Did it?
No way.
Really?
Schisms in open source? Perish the thought.
Be still, my beating heart.
Even though we have a specific jargon term for that. Forking.
That's right. Split skis. So it was a divorce. There's a lot more things that Batocera actually supports. You get Orange Pie. Man.
Yeah. Batocera's got a lot of choices. At first, I thought we were referring to, I think it's RetroBat. I think that's a Windows-based one.
They even have builds for very old PCs. So 32-bit architecture they support. And Intel Atom and low-power devices. That's interesting. Who'd have thunk? I didn't know.
They did.
Apparently they did. So things like Retropie, I guess Retropie, Batocera, and Laka. Is there another one, or did I miss it? Or is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now, one that I use a lot is RetroArch. This is I like running on my Steam Deck. You actually can install it through Steam, and sometimes I run on desktop Linux, but not very often. So it's a great way to access my vast collection of games, and but I don't find it's great for the Commodore 64. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm holding it wrong.
Is it specifically the core that's available for it?
It could be. It is the Vice core, but it's something like I can't configure it to work the way I want it to work, I guess. And it could be
Right.
like one of those things like where you're stuck on a specific media player. I want my Commodore 64 to behave a certain way. and
Right.
It's not playing the way I want it to play. So it's probably that. That's probably the problem. Because I got stuck on using Vice and all its whiz bangetry and so then not being able to have all that same kind of granular control and using my preset the way I want it.
No, I totally get you. Well, there are a lot of the cores in there are. I think they try to get like the most sort of set and forget type of configs for them, but the individual emulators that the cores are based on are usually more featureful than what RetroArch surfaces. But RetroArch definitely surfaces like the most common stuff and gives you a better interface for a lot of them for configuring, right? Especially on like a TV. But yeah, I run into that. Like the Duck Station emulator for PlayStation 1 has a lot more settings that aren't surfaced on RetroArch itself.
If you look up Super Mario World Steam Deck on the Google machine, it's actually a Cubicle 8 article that pops in as first. But there's a way to using RetroArch. There's a way to patch the Super Mario World ROM so you can actually play it widescreen. And I find that ever since I've done that, I don't want to play it on the original hardware anymore.
Being able to see further to the left and right.
Yes, it's makes a lot more enjoyable, I think, especially when you're trying to run or speed run through them. So I'm sure someone's gonna say, "Oh, well, that's cheating."
Yeah, that doesn't validate your run. Yeah,
I don't do it for time; just do it for me.
well, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a pretty easy process. But I wrote it down. It's pretty wild. But yeah, it's a lot of fun playing on a widescreen. I tell you what. There's some
Have you
little
tried
weird things.
They tried patching in like SA1 audio or something. Like there's like there are patches for like basically really high quality music for the games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Super Mario World might be one of them. There's a lot of like SA1 patches for Super Nintendo games to provide like much higher quality audio.
I had no idea. I really want to
The
play
retro gaming rabbit hole is deep.
Yeah. I've been needing to play for a long time. The Super NES, like is it Link to the Past? Is that what the
Yeah, the best game of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it the best Legend of Zelda game?
No, it's just the best game.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
your top game?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fact, but yeah. No, it's an amazing game. It is like my top game. Yeah, like it's incredible.
Yeah, the I personally think that like top down view, and then the it's not open world really necessarily, I guess, but that genre, I think it's the best for sure. Like as far as a lot of games have emulated that. There's a game on the Commodore 64. It's a fairly new game. I think Briley Witch, I think is what it's called. It has the same sort of a top-down. It's very well done. It's got a neat story to it and everything else too, but it has that same sort of feel as the as Link to the Past. So yeah, I think that game. Now that they mention, I think that probably was one of the most influential games as far as like adventuring games. I think as far as how it changed.
Yeah.
The genre.
There's a game for Mega Drive called Crusader of Senti. I think that's what it's called, at least in the English translation. It's basically a Link to the Past ripoff of sorts, but it's apparently a very good game on its own.
Okay.
But I've never gotten around to play like an emulated version of it. I'm certainly not gonna buy it. It's like hundreds of dollars to buy it. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. So like it did inspire like other creators to do that, right? And the Game Boy games are great. Link's Awakening, that's awesome. Oracle of Ages and Seasons, also awesome. So
never played those.
They're all very similar. They're similar in like graphical and whatnot as the SNES version, but obviously Game Boy color palettes.
Do they have the Game Boy Color palettes or the Game Boy original palettes?
So Link's Awakening originally came out on Game Boy. Then there's Link's Awakening DX, which is a Game Boy Color enhanced version of the game.
Okay.
And then Oracle of Ages and Seasons are Game Boy Color specific.
Got it. Okay. All right. I'd say the last one on the list here is Steam. I think.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Neither have I.
Yeah, drawing a blank on that. What is it? Steam?
Yeah,
Steam,
most of my games I get on Games for Windows Live, and I just have not.
Yes. What would my? I honestly, the consistency of Steam, and I understand, there are lots of reasons people might not like it, but you've got to give them credit for just, I mean, in terms of my gaming, which I know I'm not a gamer. I mean, I've had my moments, but the idea that I bought things that are still accessible on there, how many years later, and that it just it has so many features, built in, and the fact that Valve has done what it's done, and I don't. I think that the PC gaming industry would be very different without Steam.
Oh, for
So
sure.
I'm curious, of the people here who have Steam accounts, how old is your account? Because like they give you
How
like
can
a
I
years
tell?
of service badge or whatever, right?
How do I find out?
Yeah, where do you see that at?
Be in your profile. Yeah.
So it says my recent activity is 0.4 hours
18
the
years
past
of
2 weeks.
service.
18 years of service.
You got it. So
13.
Nate, you see it?
No, apparently I'm stupid.
as soon as you go to your
Well,
profile,
that
it's
aside, that
literally the
aside, do you
top
see
right
it?
corner.
Yeah, it's when you go into your profile itself. So if you see your name at the top, like your login name, and then there's profile, it'll be on there.
Mine's underneath currently online, and it's just a number. It doesn't say years of service till you hover over it.
Yeah, it's like a badge for it.
Oh, okay.
Did someone say 18?
Yeah.
Has Steam been around that long? 18 years?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mine is 20 years of service.
Yeah, mine,
Oof.
I
Is that-
and I
April
remember
30th.
thinking that I had like drug my feet for a couple years
Yeah.
because I had some friends that were telling me to try it.
My account was created on April 30th, 2005.
So you used to play it on Windows, yeah? Used to use it on Windows, is it? Originally?
Okay. Let me take you back to the mid 2000s here. There was a time, believe it or not, where Steam was hated. Absolutely hated. Like it was a thing that people just did not want. Because we were used to just go to the store, buy the DVD, CD, whatever, pop it in, play my game. I shouldn't have to connect to a service to play my game. I bought Half-Life
Right.
2. So I pop Half-Life 2 in there and it's like, hey, we're downloading this Steam thing. I'm like, what's that? And it's like, hey, we got to connect to the internet so you can play this single player game you bought. People were not happy about that. The Steam
Right.
client didn't have anywhere near the functionality that it does now. It was
Yep.
basically an impediment to you playing the game that you normally would play. And their goal was, to create a digital storefront in this over time. But when it first came out, people hated Steam. It sucked.
Yeah.
And so, like, anyone who jumped on maybe after 2010 would have had a good experience. But before 2010 or so, Steam was butt cheeks, man. Hated it. It
So
was
I
like an impediment to me just playing the game that's already on the disc. Like,
Right, and that was the difference, is that because Windows being the way it is, where you're getting software from disparate sources, and the expectation is that game developers had their own sort of launchers, and so by using one that's trying to consolidate things, it was a sort of a different paradigm.
yeah, very jarring for the time. But eventually you kind of get used to it and you start to see, when you buy your first couple digital games, you're like, oh, this is actually really nice. I don't have to break out the CD. I don't have to go to the store. And then, I don't have to change the discs when I, and then suddenly, here we are. I have 600, almost 700 games in Steam. So
I have 20.
So 8 years for me, March 22nd, 2017.
oh, yeah.
Yepers. So yeah, I guess I'm a little late to the party.
I was
That
a little
was the
late
other
too.
part.
It came out in 2004, I think. 2003, something like that.
That was another thing that made it compelling in a lot of ways. Was, I mean, not at first for Linux, because really there was almost nothing on there for Linux.
Low key.
But the idea that you can, especially now with the with Proton and stuff like that, that you can have these titles that work, basically on any device that's capable of playing a game.
What year was that Proton
So-
started becoming a thing? What was like?
2013? No, that was too late. That was when Steam came to Linux. Proton, I think it was around 2017 because there was a few games that it launched with support for. One of them I remember was Star Wars Battlefront 2, and not the nice one, but the
What a stinker.
classic one, right?
Ugh.
Oh no, not the new one. The one that was on the
okay.
original Xbox and all those back in the day. Like that version was supported pretty early, and I actually bought that game specifically to try out Proton. Because I was already familiar with DXVK and these others, because I was using that to play Guild Wars 2 and other games. But then when Valve was like, "Hey, we're putting all this into a bundle thing, and you can just launch a game," and I'm like, "I don't believe you." I was proved wrong. So
Battlefront was huge.
I'm actually surprised that you don't have wine on that list.
is that really a launcher though?
It's not a launcher.
Oh, it's not a launcher, is it? It's a It's a
It's a
what do
component.
you call it?
Yeah, it's kind of like
No.
back end stuff, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay.
They all basically
Wine.
have wine.
Yeah,
heard that
because it's
wine-
yeah.
I've heard that wine's an
Okay. I
emulator.
get you.
So
I used to muck around with wine quite a lot.
there is a site, steamdb.info, where you can look up a bunch of stuff about Steam, of course, but they do have a calculator that will calculate the value and other things of your Steam account. So if you go to steamdb.info, there's a link at the top for a calculator for your and you can put in your profile, assuming you have your profile public, because otherwise I can't, pull the data.
I like that it says "Get disappointed in your life."
Yep, yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. That is a correct sentiment to have for some folks,
All right, so
including yours truly.
38 out of 61 games have been played in my collection. 3 out of 100 XP to next level.
Yeah, it's like Steam level thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it says account value is $148.
is that the lowest price or today's prices?
Lowest. Today's price is $597.
So I just brought mine up. I have played 306 out of the 661 games. And my account in today's prices is $9,694.
Dang.
What is it you guys are using?
SteamDB.info.
Oh, okay.
Then you click on
And,
calculator.
At the top, there is a calculator link, and then you put in your Steam profile, and it'll tell you. And yeah, get disappointed with your life.
I like the tongue in cheek. I think is great. That's what makes tech fun.
Yeah, 20.1 years.
So my highest amount of time playing a game is 190 hours, and that's River City Ransom Underground. Next is RetroArch.
is RetroArch, yeah.
Oh, I guess all my stuff's private for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, you'd have to make your profile public, but
Gotcha.
so I don't actually have that high of hour counts on the games, because a lot of the games that I played a lot of hours on were not on Steam, funny enough.
So Joe helped me out in the comments. Wine is an emulator. That's the word I was looking for. Emulator.
Well, actually,
Wine
wine.
is not an emulator.
What is
That's what
not
wine stands
an
for.
emulator?
That's what wine
Yeah.
stands for. Wine is not an
That's correct. Yeah, I couldn't think of it. I have some game info just so I can get into the game chat here. I did read that there was a developer who has ported the Windows pinball game to Android. Did anyone see that?
Dude, they can get Space Cadet pinball as a flat pack. Just saying.
Oh, can you? Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
pretty
know
sure you
that.
can.
Okay.
That's awesome. I used to.
I wonder if it's the same developer then.
Probably not. No.
No, okay.
I wouldn't think so.
My understanding, it was reverse engineered to be the same game, but not actually use the same code.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I
I
think
believe I
that's
heard that as
right. I
well.
think that's what I read actually. Yeah.
So yeah, Steam is like kind of the default, right? Like that's generally where most people on Linux are going to get their games these days.
Yep.
And the integration of Proton is a big deal because like Steam came around like 2013-ish, maybe even before then, but I think that's the right date. And like, I mean, I was on board with that. I'm like, hey, like somebody actually cares about playing games on Linux. I don't have to play WoW with no textures. This is great. And so, like, I was excited, and I bought a bunch of Linux supported games. Humble bundles were like a treasure trove of Linux supported games back then. Like a lot of indie games were coming to Linux, a lot of good ports, a lot of really bad ports. And then the Steam Machines thing happened in like 2015, right? And
Yep, I remember that.
man, if that had launched like with like the Steam Deck did with Proton, it would have a whole different conversation about them, right? But the reality was there weren't all that many games natively on Linux. Even the ones that were there, varying degrees of quality. Vulkan really wasn't a big thing at the time either. A lot of the games still ran on OpenGL, and the performance suffered for that. Compatibility suffered. A good example is Borderlands 2. If you play the Linux port of Borderlands 2, a lot of the quality options aren't even available to you on the Linux version. Like you can't even have the higher level textures or anything like that. They're just not available because OpenGL didn't support them. The performance is terrible, screen tearing all day, every day. Like it's not necessarily that it's just a bad port. I think the folks who worked on it did the best they could with what they had. But if you're on the end of the gamer, it's just kind of like, well, what do you kind of expect, And I remember, I think it was F1 2017, I believe, was like a really big deal because that was like the first AAA game on natively to Linux that had Vulkan support. It might have been 2015 or 2016, but one of the F1 games was like, I think Feral Interactive ported it and it had Vulkan. And it's like, hey, we have a Vulkan game, man. This is a big deal. And then like, I think like Ballistic Overkill was another pretty big game within the Linux community for shooty shoots. And those are all, through Steam. And then eventually Proton became a thing. And here we are, right? Like where it's like, does it have anti-cheat? Like, does it work? That's, most people don't even think about it, right?
Right.
Yeah, the Steam Deck is basically just a console of Steam Linux stuff. It's wild.
It is. And I think the first time I played, Ballistic Overkill was probably 2019. Probably with you, Adam, actually.
Probably.
Yeah. And my kids really like Ballistic Overkill too. It's so fast. My brain can't really quite process it real well.
They haven't. They abandoned the game years ago now, but
Still, I think it's still a good game.
yeah.
No, not anymore. You don't think so?
I mean, they abandoned development on it, so it's kind of it's nothing but cheaters now. So at least last I checked.
Well, I mean, so when I play it, I'm just playing like with friends, or my kids. And,
oh, right.
Yeah.
So there's at least one cheater.
Right, just me.
They're not all cheaters. Right.
I think is Steam still they're still trying to introduce a operating system, aren't they, for themselves, like a distro? I know I tried their distro many years ago, but they're still attempting that, aren't they?
Talk about SteamOS. That's what runs on the Steam Deck.
SteamOS, yes. So it's on Steam Deck, but is it available for like normal PC? Or
you can, as long as you have AMD hardware.
Oh, okay. Right.
If you have NVIDIA, or I don't even think Intel supported either, but right now they're only officially quote unquote supporting it on the ROG Ally and Liege and Go devices. But they do say you can install it on your machine if you have AMD hardware. but it's kind of like
Right.
their hands are off of that one, right?
At that point, just use Bazite.
Right, Bazite is the superior choice. Yeah. Nessa hummed in agreement.
Mm-hmm. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do a lot more with than just games and Bazite.
Right. In fact, she printed a document.
How much of a pain was that?
Can you do that on Steam? Dude, not at all. Just go in the printer settings and hit add, right? Except for the fact that Plasma sucks with printing. And it always has and probably always will.
Really?
And so I had to walk her through doing it through the cups interface in the browser. Yeah, because Plasma's terrible for printing. Always has been. Just straight up.
Actually,
Don't try to defend it. It's reality.
I think they're all terrible. But I thought it was really easy to get certain like obscure printers working though. Like things that weren't like if you know all the different little bits and pieces.
So the thing about this printer we have is standard HP color laser jet thing. Straightforward. On my Bluefin GNOME, scene works just fine. No configuration needed at all. Didn't even have to add it. It's already there. But on Bazite, Plasma, nope. You can add it all day long. It just doesn't stay.
I have 3 printers in the house with KDE, and it works good.
I have had nothing but trouble with Plasma and printing over the years. On various machines, various versions of Plasma. 6, 5, 4.
So
I had a printer when I was running 3.
What, just on Plasma desktop?
Are you
But it
only
works on
trying,
other desktops, is it?
Are you only trying it on Bazite though?
No, it's been decades of running these things that it's always been a problem.
I have many machines, most of them running KDE Plasma with 3 printers in the house. No problem. Except for Tumbleweed, I got to turn off the
Then I blame printers.
firewall. I got to turn off the firewall and Tumbleweed, but other than that, everything else is fine.
what
What type of printers do you have, Dale? Just out of interest. Sorry,
yeah.
Nate.
Well, let me bring up my list. I'll tell you all about
I
it.
normally get HPs. HPs normally work with Linux most of the time.
Yeah, I think the issue is just that it doesn't hold the setting, right? It'll see the printer. You can click add, you can do all that, but then like it just forgets that the printer ever existed immediately.
Right.
I have a
Bizarre.
Canon TR 8600 inkjet. I have a HP Color LaserJet and another HP black and white LaserJet.
Yeah, and like I have no problems under
That's incredible.
same exact printer.
Problems.
It's not a problem I've had either.
Yeah.
And if I go in the back, so I walked her through doing it in the browser, like in the localhost 631 for the cups interface. It works just fine now through that. But if you apply the settings through Plasma, they just don't stay. And it's not a Bazite thing because like Bluefin's a similar thing. Why does Bluefin hold on to it, right?
What is Bazite based on and Bluefin?
They're Fedora based.
Yeah, I've got a Fedora machine running and KDE Plasma. Again, no problem.
Adam, I think
So,
the problem is you're holding it wrong.
I am holding it wrong.
I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no gas in it.
So Joe's saying HP is proprietary and will shut you down if they feel you violate their user agreement. And you know what? I think I have first-hand experience with that because I bought some cheap printers, inks from I think it was Kmart or something, and the printer refused to work after that. So that must have been the problem. I ended up buying another one.
Wow.
Online they catch you out because
For sure.
Ink's more expensive than fuel and anything else in the world, isn't it? Ink. I don't know why ink's so expensive.
It's
a ridiculous price.
They mine it from in the hills over the Caucasus Mountains. It's the only place the ink can come from.
So yeah, Steam.
Yeah.
Is this a true story or
No?
you had me going there.
Yeah.
Ink is just a strange thing, but so Brothers, he reckons Brothers are a good printer. I've never tried Brother before. Maybe
I like my
that's
brother.
my next one.
It's all right.
I've had Brother, and again, has worked well.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
had mixed.
Maybe that's my
mixed
next
luck.
printer. Yeah.
I like anything that has separate ink tanks is my preference.
I bought
For the colors, you mean?
Yeah, well, separate tanks for the color.
Yeah.
So I've heard an interesting contrast to the expense of ink pricing, and there's actually a site that'll tell you per gallon. And if you think gasoline's expensive, wait for this. Approximately $1,600 to $9,600 per gallon.
Wow.
I told you, it's ridiculous. I don't know how they get off charging such a price for ink, something that's used, worldwide. Unbelievable. Incredible
Man,
price.
that's why I definitely switched to laser when I could, because it just lasts so much longer.
Yeah, we have an inkjet
Laser,
printer
yeah.
just for doing photos.
I've tried
Yeah,
to
laser
make
printer, maybe that's my next one, laser.
I've
Yeah.
tried
gotta-
to make the laser printer argument and haven't won.
I have a
Still
color.
not good. Not as good for printing photos. That's why.
Right. You have a designer wife, right? So
Exactly.
she's not gonna accept the color accuracy of a laser printer.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have a color laser jet. It's an HP. It's got the extra big tray of paper underneath. Basically, I think I've purchased toner for it once now, and I've had it for about 4 years. So I don't know. I'm really a fan of the I'm really a fan of that, actually. But I'm also not a color designer or graphics designer, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, Steam. Anyway, I think do we run out of steam on this one?
Yeah, you've run out of steam.
There's actually a lot of features in Steam I think that folks don't necessarily interact with. They built in recently a game recording feature that can sort of record your game as you're playing it. I know there was some fiddly bits with that when it first released, but I think it's pretty good now. I've actually captured some pretty fun moments that I otherwise wouldn't with that running. So you just basically just records in the background your game, right, with your usually a hardware encoder, right, like your GPU encoder, and whenever like a funny thing happens, you can just like clip that last bit because it's always running, right, and that's sort of the advantage is you never know when the thing's gonna happen, so you don't necessarily know to start recording, right.
So does it
Very
keep like
similar to the
a buffer? Does it keep like a buffer of so many
yeah,
minutes?
and you can choose the amount of minutes to keep in the buffer as well. It's very similar to how the consoles work with the share buttons and whatnot. But that's a pretty cool thing you built in. I think people probably take for granted the ease in which you can invite people to games in Steam, like multiplayer stuff. Like just being able to send a message with an invite to join a game. I mean, well, maybe not all, but we remember going onto like server browsers and hey, we're all going to join this server. It's got decent ping for me. So, that kind of thing, or like having to pass around IPs or set up something like, Hamachi or whatever you might have set up in the back in the day to do some sort of online VPN gaming, that kind of thing. And so the ability to just send somebody a message with an invite on Steam is incredible, and I think it's easy to kind of forget how awesome that is. They have like a web browser built into their overlay. The Steam overlay is great, by the way. If you're not using the Steam overlay, you're missing out on a lot of things. Being able to just do Shift Tab and bring up a whole bunch of utilities at the bottom, your friends list. There's like a web browser if you want to look something up. There's, the voice chat thing, if you have that built in, if you're using the Steam voice chat, there's a lot of functionality in the game recording. Like there's a lot of cool things, and I think it's easy to forget that that's even there. But Steam overlay is pretty good.
In-home streamings can be good depending on if you have Ethernet, it's very good.
Yeah, Vince uses that. He'll use the Steam streaming. So at a certain point at night, his wife goes to bed, and he can't be in the computer area because it's too close to her sleeping. So he'll move into the living room, and he streams from his PC to the living room, and
that is cool.
Plays his game in there. And so, that's just built into Steam. It's super easy to work with because it's all built in. Right now, all of these wonderful features imply that you're playing the game on Steam. So the moment you have to dump out the Heroic and these others, you kind of lose that functionality, right? But like as far as Steam itself goes, like there's so many cool things they've added over the years, and there's a lot of like if you dive into their settings, there's a lot in there. There's a lot of little buttons and things to push. Like there's so much.
Have you done the where you can both play the same game? It's as though you're
remote play together. Yeah.
That is a super cool feature. So, you can with a couple of Steam Decks, you can play like what my son and I played. My youngest is like a Lego Star Wars together, but on our own devices, Steam devices. And
so it's normally a couch co-op thing, right?
Yeah. And so anyway, I thought it was really cool. It would be, I think, better if you would have your own like window pane, but I understand that's the game. I'd have to support that. But
you talking about like split screen or whatever?
Yeah, instead of split screen, being able to have like your own screen entirely.
Oh, right. Yeah, so the remote play together feature is to be able to play games that would normally you would have to sit next to one another, right?
Right.
And so the game would be split screen if you were sitting next to one another.
Right.
So that's kind of.
But I'm just saying it's still neat. It's great. Like if you're, like when we're on vacation, we, my two boys, they played together, but not, they played together, after we got back from Legoland or whatever. And so that was kind of neat. Played one of the Lego Star Wars games. Haha. But
those games are so good.
Oh, they are. I enjoy those a lot. So, anyway, there's like Steam has been a game changer, I think, for gaming, for sure.
Go to bed.
I will in about 30 minutes.
No snack for you. Go to bed.
No snack for you. I'm really kind of craving some like chips and salsa right now. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's kind of fun to talk about gaming things. So I guess it's appreciate your input. Anybody have anything else they wanted to throw out there concerning game launchers?
Just go play something. Even if you think you're not a gamer and you're not into gaming, I guarantee you there's something there. There is a game for basically anyone out there. If you just want something super chill, there's games like that. You want something that's more of a puzzle, you can do that. If you want action games, they're there. Like if you want games that are very lewd and things we wouldn't normally talk about here, those certainly exist. So there's something for everyone.
Check out Worms Revolution. It's pretty fun. Have you played that, Worms?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. Played that on the airplane for a while. I'm away this past week. Well, good deal. Yeah, I agree. Go have some fun. Because why not? All right. So next week is an open mic night. So if you have any suggestions or comments or whatever it is that you want to, talk about, send them to suggestions at linuxsaloon.com, or you can send them in the you can leave a comment in the YouTubes. I do check those. You can do Telegram, Discord, whatever, or email. I like email. Suggestions at linuxsaloon.com. It can be a discussion, distribution, application, or any kind of poll ideas as well. All right, so we got a little time here. I'd like to get one of these articles that we didn't get to last week. We've talked about Haiku on here before. And so there's been some news in the Haiku world. So they've restored ext4 compatibility, and now they have RISC-V once again booting. So I figure if Linux gets too commercialized and locked down, there's always Haiku, right? So then we'll have Haiku Saloon, I suppose. So Haiku open source operating system project inspired by BOS published their latest monthly report to outline progress made over the past month. HaikuOS is now better handling unreliable network connections by fixing their TCP implementation to retransmit packets during connection startup when needed. This will avoid connections failing on unstable network connections. Haiku also enabled the checksum seed feature with ext4 driver to match it being enabled default on Linux kernel version. In turn, this allows ext4 driver to be able to read and write to partitions created with the default ext4 settings on Linux. Also, on the data side, there have been some Haiku crash fixes when creating large files as well as overriding of hard-linked files while using ramfs. Haiku also landed to fix its linker script and updated packaging to once again allow the RISC-V port to boot. So I think that's neat. Does anybody play with HaikuOS like on the regular? No. I think if I had more time, I'd probably throw it on some like oddball machines just for fun. I don't know if you ever see this guy Action Retro and watch him on the YouTubes. He's one of my
Sean,
favorites.
I think his name is.
Yeah, Sean. Nice guy in real life. Met him at the this last Vintage Computer Fest Midwest. So he's taller than I would have expected. But anyway, yeah, I see some of the stuff that he does. He definitely has fun with computers, old computers, torturing them with Haiku or Linux or something like that. But yeah, this Haiku I think is pretty neat. It's actually quite usable. I think does it have multi-user capability yet? I don't know if it does, but it definitely feels older. Like it feels like the 90s, and I think that's why I like it.
One of those ones I check in on, like, I don't know, probably every other year, something like that. And it seems to be pretty stable. I mean, they have added some new things, but see, I just think you are into that aesthetic a lot more than I am. You appreciate it, I guess.
I do.
To say it.
Yep. Yeah, the BOS is kind of neat. Or as Adam would say, neat.
Or rad.
Or
Could be rad too.
Yeah.
Since it's from the 90s. Totally tubular.
You know, I appreciate the aesthetic, but I think I appreciate the workflow of like Plasma better, you know? Like I'm kind of at a point now where I'm kind of latched onto something but I still appreciate it.
Well, I actually have, I don't know, kind of had a double whammy where I've looked at both OpenSUSE and Plasma. Not that Plasma 6 is so radically different, but I don't know. I looked at Plasma for such a long time, and I think I just truly got tired of some of the rough edges, and a lot of those rough edges have been rounded off, but I haven't loved using it the last few times I've tried it over the last literally 5 years or so, and I still can't see myself using it day to day, but I do think I'm interested in seeing where they take some of the visual refresh and things like that. And I don't know, like I said, I think a lot of the things that used to just drive me crazy about it have gotten so much better. So,
Well, now that you put that out to the universe, number 7 will come along and ruin everything.
Probably.
So what do you run,
I think
Eric?
Plasma.
I've been a GNOME user I can't get away from it, honestly. I mean, Cinnamon is a close second, and depending on what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
day to day, I'm a GNOME user.
See, I thought it was Cinnamon was first and GNOME was second, but that might have been another time.
I think that was that transition period between Plasma and GNOME. I just like GTK better. That's the truth. It's not. It's. I think GNOME's the best expression of GTK, but I like GTK better than Qt. For what it's worth, I just like the libid way to stuff. I like, where they've taken Wayland, and I like the aesthetic. I like the functionality. I like the.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can appreciate how good Plasma is today, but GNOME still feels more comfy for me as well.
Yep, and the argument of like, oh well, it's missing this, missing that. Like the truth is that they may not do the best job of making it front and center, but the extensions by far make up for any of the shortcomings, and and I really only need a few things to make it what I usually use. So,
yeah, I think probably for someone who's comfortable with GNOME and understands the ways of getting the additional functionality that are not present, are probably like it better, I would say. But,
well, and the truth is that they're control panel, so I know people like to say that there's not a lot of settings, but there really is. And to me, it's more in line with almost like a mobile operating system where it has all of the things you're going to most likely want to change. And then if you absolutely need to change something, you can go in and, use like gconf or dconf or something like that. And there are ways to change things that aren't necessarily front and center, but you can still do it. So,
well, there's the
dconf editor will show you just how many settings there really are.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's not surfaced in the settings app, there's a ton.
Yeah. There is a there's like the settings app, and then there's like you have to install something else to get like the useful settings. I
agree that there's definitely some things they do, like why they don't have the font choices and the icon choices and stuff like that built
but
straight in.
What is it called though? It's a separate
GNOME
application.
Tweaks. Yeah.
Tweaks.
GNOME Tweaks. There we go. GNOME.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it GNOME.
GNOME.
That sounds fancy.
For people to act like that is like such a major imposition to have a second app to do configuration stuff. And to be honest, those aren't things that you change on any routine basis. The things that I change are, Bluetooth settings, network settings, display settings, and all that stuff is very well done in the control panel. So
there's a new alternative apparently called Tuner, according to Zoe Ronan.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway, so
Are they Australian? Are they trying to say tuna?
it could be.
It's not the tuna.
Anyway, and you're probably right. I'm probably like being small and pedantic, but like things like that, like having to go to different places, to me it's just very confusing and difficult for me to navigate because I want to go to one spot.
Right.
It's like,
I think a lot of the stuff in GNOME Tweaks is like the kind of thing you set once and then you forget about.
Yeah, probably.
And I could make the argument, just having literally while we were on this Zoom session, looking through the control panel for KDE, if there wasn't a search, it would be hard for me to use that control panel.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's actually why I like it, because I can search very quickly. I know what I want. It's power. And then I click it. But, yeah, you're probably right. I'd say actually one of the things, now please don't ban me from Linux Saloon for this, but one of the things that I've appreciated about Windows was the control panel. Now it's kind of a mess. Maybe not as
Like
much
the
right
original
now.
control panel.
Yes. I thought that was great. You go to one spot, access all the bits and pieces of it, and then, dig through and find whatever I needed to do. And it worked well for my brain. And I think that's a carryover from Plasma, I think. So, but no, I get it. I get it.
It's all better than the macOS settings app. Oh my God. They ruined it so bad. It's so terrible.
I haven't used the latest.
Yeah, just don't.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Windows 11 did a pretty damn good job of screwing up control panel.
You're talking about like needing to search in Plasma settings, like macOS settings. Yeah, you have to search. Things are not even in the place that they sound like they're going to be. It's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I think most
Like-
of
like-
those settings
sorry, go ahead.
are things you do once, twice, maybe, on a very
Right.
infrequent basis. So.
I'm gonna give you an example of a really stupid macOS settings thing they did. So where would you assume if I told you you need to change how long it takes for your display to turn off when inactive? Where would you look for that in the normal settings app?
Oh,
power.
power
Like
settings.
power management.
Yeah.
Power, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
in the lock screen settings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I'm not a Mac OS apologist, but I can kind of understand that. I mean, it's not, at least it's not in the keyboard settings. I mean,
May as well be. Why not throw it in Game Center? Like just I don't know. Like yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
yeah.
So you just search. You just search.
I like the Wi-Fi and internet settings in Plasma a lot. I think I'm sure GNOME's probably the same at this point, as far as all the different features and whatnot you can do with it.
Oh, like basically a front end to network manager, right?
Yeah, yep. Because I have certain rules set for specific dock stations that I dock my system to give me like between the two different plans. So it forces certain profiles to launch, essentially not launch, different network profiles and such. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that'd just be a network manager thing.
It is.
Right?
It is, yeah. But anyway, I really appreciate that because I don't know how to do that in Windows. Anyway, well, cool. I did want to get to the community free pour. So,
Oh crap! Here we go.
oh crap. Let's do that after the
Well,
show.
I'm out. Take care.
Feel the pressure.
Yep.
Hey, Ricky.
Hey, y'all. I'm Lindsay Lohan.
He's joking like heck.
Anyway,
Oh,
so you said you got
God. Okay.
something that you want to talk about?
Yes, we have a bit of an update to StormOS. And I think I'm gonna let my co-dev Ricky take the floor this time.
It basically, what's all been going on is, as of today, we finally, after months of constant tinkering, we fixed the Arch version. It's pretty much ready to go. We'll be pushing that out shortly. We're also working on a Gen 2 edition of StormOS. That's still in development. We're not going to give away much details about it right now, but
No.
just think about this for just a minute. It's pretty much going to be StormOS, but based on
With the Gen 2 backend.
Plus it's going to have its own installer and everything. So that's
Pretty much, I'm going to say this. It's pretty much almost ready. It's just we're still testing the installer. And that's mainly it.
And another thing that we're working on that that's going to be being developed soon is going to be a new project called StormFS. It's going to basically be another flavor of StormOS, but this time
And the final one. The final one.
the final flavor. We're only going to have 3. But StormFS is going to be based on Linux from scratch.
And who's the target
you
audience?
heard it right, folks. It's the Linux from scratch time for old Benji and Ricky.
Yep.
So
And this one, hold on, this one is going to be kind of special because it's using a fork of Crux utils from Crux Linux. And it's not going to have a GUI package front end on it. It's going to be strictly a command line package manager. We're not going to mess with a GUI on top of it. So if anybody wants to install something that we don't personally include by default, you're going to have to go into that command line and build the packages that way. So, yeah. And the package syntax for this is prt-get, and then whatever you want to find. So
Exactly.
Firefox, whatever.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what little we can tell about StormFS for now. It's going to be in development very soon. Don't expect a release for it until late 2025.
Alrighty.
All right, cool. Well, either way, um,
That's basically it.
yeah, that's where we're at with that. We will be uploading the StormOS Arch version very soon to SourceForge and getting those downloads going. Beyond that, that's what we wanted to bring to the table for tonight. And hopefully soon we'll have more news about the other two versions, but that's pretty much where we're at for tonight. So yeah.
Well, who's the target user for that? Because I mean, if you're doing like a Gen
For
2,
StormFS,
yeah, it's gonna be probably somebody who's a lot more
StormFS is going to
savvy.
be StormFS is going to be geared at the more advanced user, the more technical people. It's not going to be like StormOS where it's geared at the novices, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Because our LFS and Gen 2 versions, those are going to be geared more towards people who know what the heck they're doing, know how to navigate a command line. It's not going to be geared towards somebody who doesn't know what the F they're doing with Linux at all.
So people who like to RISC their systems, I guess.
Yes, essentially
Exactly.
they know how to configure a GUI, configure their system. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's not going to be geared at somebody who is a total dummy novice. No.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Yep. All right. So I guess it's time for last call. And if anyone had anything they wanted to call out on the last call.
Yeah, I got some.
Yeah. Please do, Mike.
I stumbled across an OS this last week. I haven't installed it, but I took a look at it.
Well, I would wait till we have it up on SourceForge, Mike, because
you're talking about something else
the
you
last
stumbled on.
version we just uploaded has a Calamari's error, and the one that we just built, we fixed that. So hold off on that for a few minutes, please.
Anyway, I ran across an OS called Open Indiana. Has anyone ever heard of it?
Yes, it's a open is it like Solaris or something? Or
yeah, it's like a rebuilt form of Solaris. Yeah, that's right. Has anybody ever looked at it before?
It's been a long
ago.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, years ago.
Okay. I was thinking about loading it up on VirtualBox and seeing what it looked like. I just was going to see if anyone had any experience with it.
So my experience, I think, like the last time I ran, I think it was Open Solaris at the time. That would have been like 2005 or 6, I think, last time I touched it.
Oh.
So it's been a couple years.
Yeah, they've been working on it, obviously, and the latest it looks like they push it out about every 6 months, a new version. So
really,
yeah. April 2nd was the last version they pushed out. 2025-04. So.
Huh. I had no idea.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't know if anyone had used it before, and I was just gonna when I had some downtime in the future, I was gonna take a look at it and see what it looked like. Because I used to use Sun Microsystems machines. So.
Hey, what was the what desktop environments do they offer for that?
Mate. Yeah.
Mate?
It's got, Mate's on it. Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah. So. If you want to look at it, it's openindiana.org, the website.
Okay.
And I'll put it.
Yeah, I have heard of this before.
The chat. Yeah, it looks interesting. One of the things I really liked about Sun Microsystems machines and their version of Unix was they did a good job of doing exactly what you guys were talking about earlier. That's trying to put everything in one place. So I'll be interested to see if they maintain that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to check out too.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for that. We should check that out. Do like a distro exploration of Open Indiana. I mean, why not? We do all kinds of other weird things.
Yeah. You made me think about it when you were talking about Haiku, and so it was kind of a pleasant break to. I've been in package hell the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And it's been, but anyway, I was thinking about looking at it, maybe load it up tomorrow and see what it looks like. So
Yeah, and do share. You can put screenshots and whatever on the Telegram or Discord, whatever. Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe whet somebody's appetite for another thing to play with. Cool. Well, thanks for that. Dale, I know you have you do some things. Have you had time to do things?
I have not had much time to do things. I've got a lot of things on the docket, and it's not looking good.
I got you. Eric, got much going on?
Not really. I had some family in town, and just really haven't had much time to play around with stuff. I need to pick out a laptop for my wife. She's using an older one for her work stuff, and it's Windows 10, not eligible for an upgrade, and also it's just kind of old and at the point where it's not running very well. So I don't want to get her something new. I'm not really interested in Copilot or anything like that. So I'd like to find something that's maybe pre-Copilot's a year or two old, and I'm fine with the used system. I've done pretty well with used equipment, so I just need to figure out what I want and, get as much memory as I can. That's really the biggest thing. And then, like an i7 or somewhere around there would be good. So just need to, figure out what I want to get. So that's it.
So you need to pull the Atom trick and then just put Bazite Linux on there and see how she fares.
Yeah. Well, if her software ran, I would have already insisted on her doing that a long time ago. But she's, like I said last time, she's just kind of stuck on Windows-based stuff. So that's really don't have a choice, unfortunately.
Hey, Eric, there's a company called, you may have heard of them, Discount Electronics. They sell refurbished and used equipment. And I bought refurbished gear from them before. Their pricing is anything that you can afford, they have. You just, they have a wide range of prices. I'll put the link in the chat here.
Okay.
But they have some cheap laptops.
Got it.
Inexpensive, I should say.
You can find some pretty good machines at apple.com/Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty good.
And believe it or not, her software is so
it's not one of those I've used. It's just about to go with the market.
I do like doing that to people. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I need a good recommendation for a machine," and I just throw them like an apple.com/Mac link just to mess with them.
Can't go wrong.
It's always fun. I don't necessarily recommend that actual machine for him. I just think it's funny to. It's basically a Rickroll of sorts.
I think that's hilarious, actually. Like just recommending something that's off in left field that they don't want.
I've also thought about just switching it up to apple.com/iPad instead. Just 'cause it's not even like the thing they're wanting.
You could get your wife just a Dell PowerEdge server, something like dual cores, like 256 gig of RAM, and just put it under her desk, and then just that thing will crank away and make tons of noise. And
yeah, the Florida heat won't have any of that on that.
Yeah, that definitely won't be a problem.
What these new ones
like
though, they'll throttle down. They don't, like at idle, they don't actually consume all that much power. I mean, they do consume a lot, but not all that much. I mean,
don't think I'm going to get away with that one, but okay.
So it's, there's, you get something with like there's a couple of,
as always, I'm getting all of the helpful advice I would expect from.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, because we know you already. We know you already know what you're looking at.
No, they got 24 DIMM slots, You just crank that sucker up.
And I'll only fill 2 of them.
Right. Well, just in case I'd need to, upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And by the time you do, the memory's expensive because they don't make it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Have to eBay it and hope that it works. Anyway, good times.
Now we only do this because we know you know what you're doing. So
No, I know, and I do pretty well on corporate machines where they've had them in service for a few years and they're ready to
the off-lease stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only trouble I've noticed lately is they're holding on to these computers longer now. So a lot of companies
Yeah,
are.
that's true. But honestly, given how old hers is, as long as it was, new enough to run Windows 11, it would probably be good. So,
Gotcha.
I just need to. I don't know. I used to love shopping for computers, and I don't know anymore. I've really lost my interest for a lot of that kind of stuff anymore.
It's not
sure
nearly
what's
as
happened to me.
straightforward as it used to be either.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think I think personally, I have some of that luster has been lost to me on looking at computers because framework.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's going to be a part of it too. I mean, I don't know what kind of budget she's interested in, but depending on that, I mean, if she does want something newer or new, I would try to steer her towards stuff like that. But I think she's probably just going to want something.
I don't think they're
shelf.
crazy expensive, but they're not cheap either.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like for the amount of RAM and like, I really think it's just going to be more about just a system was built up. But get someone that bought the best of the best, and then is wanting to upgrade a couple years later because they're out there. You just have to find them.
Yeah, it's true.
I wouldn't know
Just go
anything
on
about
Facebook
that.
Marketplace and find that one that fell off a truck.
Ah, yes, those the infamous
Yeah.
truck faller offer machine.
Got it from my cousin. They didn't need it, and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they left it. Yeah.
they bought 2. Yeah.
He gave me one. Yep. Well, neat. All right. Well, I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud, and we're going to start recording again. We couldn't for a while because of scheduling conflicts, and Wendy had things. So I think recording sometime this week. I also have a website called cubicule8.com. Sometimes I write things. So I want to thank you all for being... Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network, so check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. And thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of this conversation, both the Zoom meeting and the YouTube stream, as well as everyone for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time.